Hey everyone, Pastor Kyle here, and working on some videos, and I hope that you're staying sane through all of this coronavirus mayhem. And if you're getting bored, I'm going to give you some things to work on. These are some future songs that we're going to be working with in the youth group, and John had already sent these out, and I've taken these and printed them out. So I'm going to be working through some of these for you so you have something to work on while you're sitting home bored, alone. Well, maybe not alone. Anyway, let's take a look at the song Another in the Fire. Now, for the most part, we've got three basic chords, which is your A minor, your F, and your C. Now, it says F6. I wouldn't worry too much about the F6. You can just play a regular F chord, and that'll be fine. Occasionally, there's a G chord, a couple of those. There's an E minor 7 chord, and then there's a D minor chord. But let's look first of all at the main chords that we have, which is A minor, F, and C. If we take an A minor chord, and let's take it in root position just so we can look at the notes. Here's our A minor chords. We have A, C, and E, and that makes up our A minor chord. The next chord we go to is F. So if we build an F in root position, we have F, A, and C. But what we want to do is we want to look at the relationship between the chords. So when we're moving from chord to chord, we don't want to think, well, I'm just moving from this chord, now I'm moving to this root position chord, and now I'm moving to this root position chord. We want to look at the chords in relationship to each other to see if there's any notes that are going to stay the same, and if we can move just maybe one or two notes and in which direction. That'll help us to quickly facilitate getting to those chords, and it's going to sound a lot smoother and not jarring like that. Can sound really jarring when we're jumping back and forth like that. So we want a smooth transition between the chords. So let's go back to our A minor chord. Okay, there's our A minor chord and our F chord. Now if I look at those two chords, there's two notes that I have in common, which is the A and the C. So I have A and C for my A minor chord, which is here, and then I have A and C for my F chord. So what I want to do is I want to see if I can keep these notes the same and only move the other note to produce my F chord. So if I look at the E, this is the note that goes to F, and if you look at E in relationship to F, it's just a half step away. So all I have to do really to go from my A minor chord to my F chord is just keep these notes the same and move this note up here. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to play my A minor chord in first inversion. That means instead of root position, root note here, A, I'm going to flip it one time, take the bottom note and move it up here, and put A on top here. That's still an A minor chord, it's just that I've changed the position of where the notes are. So now I'm going to keep the same constant tones, the same notes, the same common chord tones, and I'm still going to move that one note, which is E, up to F. So that two outer notes are going to stay the same this time, and E is going to move to F. When I had root position here, it's the two bottom notes that stayed, and the E, which is on top, moved up here. If I play my A minor here, it's the two outer notes that stay, and it's the E still that moves. And it would be the same if I had A minor here. I keep the two common ones here, A and C, and I'm only going to move E up to F. So regardless of where I am, I'm going to move that one note to get to F and keep the two that are constant. So here I have my A minor chord. I'm going to move this up, and I'm going to move my bass down to C, or to F. But now I'm going to a C chord. If I look at a C chord, I've got C, E, and G, but I've got C the same note as my F chord, so I'm going to keep C the same, and if I move these two notes down to E and G, now I have a C chord. So watch my right hand as I'm playing through this chord progression. My right hand hardly moves at all. My left hand is going to move to the different bass notes. So if I take the first verse, there's a grace when my heart is under fire. Another way when the walls are closing in. And when I look at the space between where I used to be and this, now I get to my G chord. My G chord has G, B, and D. My C chord, where I'm coming from, is C, E, and G. I have G the same, so instead of moving up here, what I'm going to do is keep G the same, but I'm going to move these two notes, and if I move this one down and this one down, I get my G chord. So I have my C chord, keeping G here and moving these two notes down to my G chord. Now I have a G over C. So when I look at the space between where I used to be and this reckoning, now I have my G chord with C in the bass. That's what the slash is, G/C. There's another in the fire, standing next to me. This is the chorus. There was another in the waters, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminding how I've been set free, there is a cross that bears the burden, where another died for me. There is another in the fire. Now when you get to this A minor, that's really the first chord of the turnaround. And you play those, okay? Now let's look at verse 2. There's an E minor 7. Let's look at what an E minor 7 is. You have E, G, B, and D. Now if I move my bass note, that's left with a G chord. So I basically have a G chord, but now I have the E in the bass, which makes my full E minor 7. So when I go from my C chord, from the should I fall in the space between what remains of me and this reckoning, I'm going to move to my G chord again like I did in verse 1 here, G, D, B, but I'm going to move up to E, and that gives me an E minor 7. So I have root, third, fifth, 7, which is like a G chord with E in the bass. So it's pretty much the same thing in my right hand exactly as I played in verse 1. It's just that now the bass is E instead of the C. There's one more weird chord, not weird, but it's a different chord, in the bridge, and that's a D minor chord. So let's take a look at that. So I'm coming from, and I can see the light in the darkness as the darkness bows to him, and I can hear the roar in the heavens as the space. Now here I have a C with E in the bass. It's still my C chord, it's just I have a different note in the bass. Between wears thin, feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in. Nothing stands between us. Now I go to my D minor chord. Now let's think about it. I'm going from my G chord to my D minor chord. D minor is made up of D, F, and A. My G chord here has a D, so I'm going to keep this D the same, and I'm going to move these two notes down. The outer notes are going to go down. So now I've got root, D, third, and fifth. So this is actually second inversion. Root, first inversion, second inversions. There's my D minor chord, okay? So I'm going from, I can feel the ground shake, and I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in. Nothing stands between us. So I went from my G chord here, pivot down here. I'm using this kind of as my little pivot point. G chord to D minor. Now look at D minor compared to F. Nothing stands between us. So my D minor, I have two notes in common, my A and my F, because if I build my F chord, F, A, C, and my D minor chord, D, F, A, the two notes I have in common are F and A. So I'm going to keep those the same. The other note that I have that's different would be a C note, so I'm going to go just from my D down to C. Nothing stands between us, and I'm going to move everything up to my G. So that's basically the form of the song. You can work on it on your own, but really strive to see the relationship between the chords that you're playing. A minor to F to C to that G, which is your G over C, your E minor 7, and also in the bridge you have a regular G with G in the bass. So the right hand you have the same thing for G over C, E minor 7, and regular G with G in the bass. I hope that's helpful to you. Stay tuned. I'll be posting some more videos, and we'll see you later.